Hello fellow flyers. I wanted to show you my P51 that I rolled in the ground about 2 weeks ago. My mistake, because of the simple act of not paying attention to those ailerons after I changed out the servos to these high-techs, because I had started having one like this one, failing in the wing, the left wing. It was starting to act erratic. So I decided to buy a pair of these because they're high voltage and they have a better torque. And here we go, right here. Rating and a better servo to use for the price. So when I put them in, I had the plane upside down, and it was just didn't sink in my head. And I rolled her in about 6 feet up into the mud, which I was grateful for that. And also, being they didn't have a lot of glue in here, it snapped the nose right off, right here. And then this part down here was busted off. And I'm going to show you a little bit more. You're seeing where I had to patch it here, and I'll show you when I turned the body upside down what it did. You can see still the little bit of scar on the bulkhead. There's a little crack, which I had to epoxy all back. But this overall survived well. And since I got it upright, I'm going to talk about this. One guy had his cockpit fly off. I read about it. They use two-sided tape in here, real thin little two-sided tape. After a period of time, it will come on. Mine just came off pretty easy. So I saw, okay, it's back on with silicone now. A good bit here and here and here. There's silicone on this part right here. And it's on there. It ain't going to come off easily. Okay, now I'm going to turn this thing over. Okay, carefully, because I'm holding the phone. So bear with me a moment. I have to put it down. Sorry about that. I have no choice. Okay. Sorry, I had to put it down because I can't. And now you're going to see back in here. You can see the battle scar here, where I had to patch this. This had been cracked, but the runners were still good. It just cracked the balsa plate. In a couple of places. Worse was here and here, because this was a clean snap. And it broke the wing joist here off. You can probably see it where I had to epoxy this in, and then I had to make that because that was gone. I never did find it. You see me running the antenna a little different this time. If you looked at my still pictures, the servos, that one that you see on the ground that's broken was the rudder. I just relocated them. I moved them around. One of them is the throttle. It's now on the rudder, and one of them that was for the elevator is now the throttle. I just moved them around, but those three are the original servos that came with this plane. It snapped this right here. It just cracked it. You can tell right there. But I glued it back together. The only spot I had to put a little extra ply is right here, because this is when I showed you the switch at the beginning. This was snapped off. It wasn't out of there. The head, this front and here, and the engine mount was laying in the mud. And so a lot of this followed it. It broke the tray. It cracked it, but I pieced it back together. You can see my epoxy points. And I've already had it running, and I got to rebalance it. I can show you the damage it did to the wing. The wing, except for what you see right there, that's all it did. And a couple of little dings here, actually punctured the skin real lightly, one here and in here. But you can see I patched it. Other than that, the wing did very fine, because that was my saving grace. It was in the mud. You can see the mud still on the spinner. I had a black spinner on it at the time, and what it did to the cowl. It broke the cowl up. You can still see the mud on it. Now, to touch on this while I'm bringing this up. If you change the servos out, like I did, Switching the transmitter to reverse it to correct direction is not going to fix it. You also have to switch it in here. You're going to need this cable, this one right here, and you have to plug it into your computer and get the download information. You got to go in there, that receiver, and switch it over internally, because after I had it, when I was running it, I noticed the ailerons were going the wrong way. Still, I'm thinking, okay, something's wrong, and I called Verizon, talked to a nice young man, and he told me, you got to switch inside the receiver too. Oh, okay. So once I reversed it, it's working right. And then you got to move your transmitter back to what it was originally, because once you reverse it in there, everything's reversed. They didn't break the fuel tank. It dinged it, but it's still good. You can't see the epoxy I got in the nose. There's probably about 2, maybe 3 fluid ounces of epoxy all up around in that nose. And it's glued up much better, stronger than what it was, and plus back what you see back here. And except for what it cracked here and what it did at the switch, overall the body did well. It did jar that loose down here. I'm talk about the body some more. I had to put some epoxy down in there where the cockpit is. And then right there, it cracked it there. But other than that, again, I'm repeating it, it did fine. Now, if this begins to get too expensive after you have to replace the servos and you got to buy that cable, and you're thinking, and it's going to be a lot of trouble to change it out, my next advice, buy that. There you go. Put this in there. Then you ain't got to change anything except just reverse your controller, your transmitter, to the type of radio you're going to run it on, and you're good to go. If you don't want to buy that cable, after buying the servos to replace it, and them servos were only $14 a piece, so it was good. Anyway, I just wanted to touch on it. It runs good, and I'm repeating myself. I'm rebalancing it. Everything's back on. It run good, and hopefully I'll get to fly it for the Warbird event coming up soon at Tech City. Thanks for listening and watching.